Coaches like to say that the fun is in the winning, and it's been fun to talk Arkansas football for the first time in a few years, and definitely excited to talk about it with Nick Walters. You can catch him on Pig Trail Nation, also KARK4 News and Fox 16 as well. Nick, how you doing today?
I can't complain, Mark, and I don't think anybody can in Arkansas with how this season's going.
It's exciting when a team you see develop and grow, a young team, and that they're just playing out of their minds and excited and just getting better by leaps and bounds and just doing all those fun things that you see, the celebrations, and just playing crazy games with all the turnovers and just opportunistic type football. And we saw more of the same against Tennessee. But you don't win in the SEC without playing sound fundamentals as well. So they get down 13-0. They're at home and they roar back for the win. So what stood out to you in regards to the Hogs' big comeback?
Well, having been at the game, Mark, I feel like at halftime it was totally dead. The entire stadium almost knew, okay, we ain't winning this game. And all of a sudden, the third quarter is a whole new team, right? Sam Pittman, whatever he said during halftime, it worked because rattling off 24 points unanswered in the third quarter. Barry Odom's defense holding that Tennessee offense, who had scored 13 up to that point, scoreless the rest of the way, only 16 yards mustered in the third quarter. It was a hell of a performance there in the third quarter, and that carried on to the fourth. And for me, what it speaks volumes to is the vibe of this team. You mentioned earlier, they're celebrating, they're excited, right? And we haven't really seen that out of a Razorbacks team. It's been a lot of doubt and a lot of sluggish play. So I think that the vibe of this team is different. Whatever Sam Pittman's doing, obviously he's not going to be coaching for the upcoming game with Florida. You're going to have Barry Odom as the interim head coach. But I think this entire team, it's a whole new look. It's a whole new feel. And you see that with the second half against Tennessee, how that played out.
Nick, most of the games have been sporadic, a little ragtag, a lot of scoring, a lot of turnovers, and, hold on tight to the end. This was more of a defensive showing, so that area of the team has just developed here pretty quickly.
It has. And, of course, Jalen Catalon, he's putting up a heck of a performance. I mean, he was the Arkansas Razorbacks Defensive Player of the Year for a really good reason. And, of course, he sealed the game at the very end with that interception. Bumper Pool coming back. Last time I talked to you, I said this Arkansas defense, after the Ole Miss win, was already playing so well without debatably their best player in Bumper Pool. Getting him back has been a huge addition. And I think this Razorbacks defense, as I mentioned, was going to be a force to be reckoned with, and they're showing it. And you can put that kind of praise on Barry Odom if you want to, or the players themselves, being Sam Pittman. But overall, you're looking at a team that everyone expected they'd be 2-4 at best. Right now, they should be 4-2 if it wasn't for the Auburn game, how that played out. They're 3-3, and that's the best case scenario any of these fans could have expected. And a lot of that has to do with the defense. And like I mentioned, that second half, that's all you need to know against Tennessee. That defense was flying around and really bouncing back of a first half that was ugly, Mark. I mean, the offense couldn't get anything going. The kicker missed the 21-yard field goal. Pretty much everything went wrong for the Razorbacks offense, and the defense wasn't giving them too much help. So to bounce back the way they did, it's a testament to the team and especially that defense.
MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we love. Best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the nation. Discussion, debate, and analysis every day. Please lock it in with a like, a comment. Please share the videos and subscribe right here. Hit that bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live. Nick Walters, a busy man. Pig Trail Nation, KARK4, and Fox 16 as well. Covers the Hogs on a weekly basis. So, Nick, in regards to the big news is unfortunately that Sam Pittman will miss this game. We understand that he is doing well after having tested positive for COVID. A good luxury to have is a guy that's not only head coached, but at this level and in this conference, of course, Barry Odom at Missouri.
I don't think the team is lacking any confidence in Barry Odom as interim head coach. Obviously, with what Sam Pittman has already done in his 6 games debuting for the Razorbacks, it hurts, and especially more so it's a gut punch to the entire team as far as like it's moral damage. But really what you're going to see on the field is going to be a lot of the same. I don't think it's going to be that much of a drop-off, as I was telling you before the show, that between Sam Pittman and Barry Odom, I don't think that's a drastic jump that all of a sudden you have to jump ship and say, okay, it's going to be 50-0 Florida here coming Saturday. Okay, so I feel like this team's going to be a lot of the same. It's going to hurt, but with how Felipe Franks is performing. Another 200-plus yard passing performance out of him. He's running the ball, 14 rushing attempts last game, breaking off a big-time 25-yard rush late in the game that kind of sealed the deal. So I feel like his performance, Traylon Burks still being a huge force to be reckoned with at receiver, 95 yards last week. This offense, this defense, they're clicking on all cylinders right now. Losing Sam Pittman's going to hurt, but I don't think it's going to be so much damaging that you have to say, throw the towel on this team.
Nick, you brought up Felipe Franks. Of course, outside of the Pittman storyline, the narrative would be, first and foremost, Felipe Franks taking on his old team. He had a nice final season there at Florida, 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions before getting injured early on the next season. And then, of course, that ushered in the Kyle Trask era there at Florida. Any talk this week about Felipe Franks and extra motivation incentive in this one?
As you would imagine, because of Felipe Franks' history with Florida, it only took about 3 questions in the postgame after Tennessee for Felipe to get questions about that Florida game. And what he told reporters was that, look, I'm not individualizing anybody, and he doesn't care if it's Tennessee or Florida. He's going to go out there and play the same game he has all season. But you got to believe that this does mean a little bit more to him, and he's going to come really with everything he's got with this game to really show his old team, and he's going to be going with his old stomping grounds in a way. So it's going to be a really fun game to see how Felipe performs. But as always, this Razorbacks defense is really relying on that defense. And Rakeem Boyd, as I mentioned, he's yet to really get going. His first 100-yard rushing game was against Texas A&M. He didn't really crack that. I think he got 65 yards against Tennessee. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can get going. But, of course, against Kyle Trask and that Florida offense, you could possibly see the Razorbacks getting down in the first half. And if that does happen, you're going to have to really put the ball in Felipe's hands and say, go see what you got. I mean, against your old team, and maybe he throws for 300-plus yards and he keeps up with this Florida offense, or maybe he doesn't. And without Sam Pittman, that's going to hurt. But I feel like this Razorbacks team, coming off of what should be 3, maybe going 3 of the last 4 games being wins outside of that A&M loss, I feel like they have all the confidence in the world with this team, and that includes Felipe.
And despite only having about 20% attendance in the stadium, considering Felipe Franks' love-hate relationship with the Florida fans when he was there, it'll be interesting to see what the response will be when he comes back. Razorbacks and Gators on Saturday. We got Nick Walters on the line from Fox 16 at KARK4 and also Pig Trail Nation. 16-point underdog. This is obviously a big challenge. Florida coming off the big win against Georgia, which pretty much locks up an SEC championship game berth for them. How much of a shot do you give the Hogs?
Well, they're no strangers to being underdogs. It's just a little bit more heavy underdogs this time around. And with no mistake, I mean, that's the way it should be. I mean, Florida's playing out of their mind lately, and they're one of the best in the SEC, and rightfully so. They proved it game in and game out. And Arkansas, while they still have this turnaround season, they're still in the mid-tier of the SEC. I mean, it's a huge bounce-back season, but to go into Florida, to go into Gainesville, into the swamp, and to compete with the best, that's going to be a really tough ask for this Razorbacks team. But considering the fact that this offense is starting to blossom, and you're starting to see Felipe hit multiple targets outside of Traylon Burks, I feel like they're going to have a chance to really keep up with the Florida offense. But it's one of those games, Mark, where it could get out of hand for Arkansas, and you're hoping that they might not resort back to old ways of this Razorbacks team. And without Sam Pittman, without their leader there, you don't want to see this team kind of fall down and really not try to get back up. So it's going to be a big gut punch test here. It's going to be a moral test with Barry Odom there on the sidelines, how well this team can actually keep up with the Florida Gators, but also really show their fight against this team come Saturday night.
Nick, we appreciate you stopping by. We always enjoy the conversation on the Hogs, and especially this season with it's being so fun and being just a thorn in the side of all sorts of teams, and they could really be a factor in this stretch drive in terms of that spoiler role.
And you see in sports all the time where a team really just wants to shock the world and shock everybody around them. Well, hey, they've been doing that all season. You go to a season where nobody thinks that the Razorbacks are going to even compete with anybody in the SEC, given their history of losing to even non-conference teams. It's been fun to see this team really rally together, and hopefully they keep on doing that on Saturday and make this game competitive.
Okay, Nick, enjoy the game.
Thank you. You too, Mark. Appreciate it.